Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying a mistake you made years ago? A conversation that went wrong, a decision you wish you could undo. The memory plays on a loop, vivid and sharp, and with it comes the familiar, heavy ache of regret. Or perhaps your struggle isn't with the past, but with the future. You find your mind racing, lost in a labyrinth of what-ifs. What if I fail? What if I lose my job? What if I'm not good enough? Each question is a chain, pulling you into a state of anxiety, a future that hasn't happened yet, but is already stealing the peace of your present. Maybe the ghost that haunts you is more subtle. It's the sting of a critical comment, the desperate need for approval, or the constant, nagging feeling that you are being judged. You shape your choices, your words, and even your dreams to fit the expectations of others, living in a quiet prison built by their opinions. These burdens, regret, anxiety, the need for validation, are the heaviest anchors we carry. They slow us down, drain our energy, and prevent us from living with the freedom and clarity we crave. We believe that if we just hold on tighter, think harder, or try to control every outcome, we can find security. But what if the opposite is true? What if true strength isn't found in holding on, but in letting go? This is one of the most profound and liberating lessons of Stoic philosophy. The ancient Stoics, men like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the statesman Seneca, and the freed slave Epictetus, understood that the key to a tranquil and powerful life was not to control the world around them, but to master the world within. They taught that our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from the judgments we attach to them. And the most powerful judgment we can make is the choice to release what is beyond our control. Letting go, in the Stoic sense, is not an act of weakness or surrender. It is not apathy or indifference. It is an act of supreme wisdom and courage. It is the deliberate, disciplined practice of freeing your mind from the things that do not serve your virtue, your peace, or your purpose. It is about understanding that your power does not lie in changing the past or predicting the future, but in mastering your response to the present moment. In this journey together, we will explore the Stoic art of letting go. We will walk through the timeless wisdom that can teach us how to release the unchangeable past, to embrace the uncertain future without fear, and to free ourselves from the tyranny of other people's opinions. We will discover how to loosen our grip on material attachments and master the negative emotions that hold us captive. This is not a quick fix or a simple life hack. It is a deep, transformative practice, a way of training the mind to find freedom and resilience, no matter the storm. So, find a quiet space. Allow your mind to settle. And let us begin the journey of letting go, not to lose a part of ourselves, but to finally, completely, find ourselves. Section 1, Letting Go of the Past, the Unchangeable Anchor. There is a story often told of two Zen monks walking along a muddy road after a heavy rain. They came across a beautiful young woman in a silk kimono, unable to cross a large puddle without ruining her clothes. Without a word, the older monk lifted her in his arms, carried her across the puddle, and set her down on the other side. The woman bowed, and the monks continued on their journey. Hours passed. As they neared their temple, the younger monk, who had been brooding in silence, could no longer contain himself. "Why did you do that?" he snapped. "We monks are not supposed to touch women, especially one so young and beautiful. It is against our rules." The older monk looked at him, a gentle smile on his face, and replied, "I left the woman by the road hours ago. Are you still carrying her?" This simple story cuts to the heart of one of our greatest sources of suffering, our inability to let go of the past. Like the young monk, we carry our burdens, our mistakes, our grievances, our heartbreaks, long after the events have passed. We replay them in our minds, analyzing every detail, drowning in a sea of what could have beens and if onlys. The past becomes a heavy anchor, and we are the ones who refuse to cut the rope, wondering why we cannot move forward. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote with piercing clarity on this matter. In one of his letters, he stated, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future." But he also understood that we cannot enjoy the present if we are chained to the past. He saw regret as a form of self-torture, a pointless act of whipping ourselves for a crime that has already been committed and whose verdict cannot be changed. Why, he would ask, do we choose to suffer twice? Once when the event happened, and again in our memory. This is where the cornerstone of Stoic practice, the dichotomy of control, becomes our most powerful tool for liberation. Epictetus taught that some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Within our control are our judgments, our intentions, our desires, and our actions. Outside of our control is everything else, our health, our reputation, the actions of others, and most certainly, the past. The past, by its very nature, is the most uncontrollable thing of all. It is sealed, finished, and unchangeable. To dwell on it, to wish it were different, is therefore an act of profound irrationality. It is, as the Stoics would say, to fight with the universe itself. Imagine a sailor caught in a storm who, instead of managing the sails and steering the ship, spends his time cursing the wind that has already passed. He would be seen as a fool. Yet, this is what we do every time we allow past mistakes to consume our present moment. We are cursing a wind that no longer blows, while ignoring the ship that needs our command right now. Think of a time you made a significant mistake at work. Perhaps a project failed, or you said the wrong thing in a crucial meeting. The initial sting of failure is natural. But what happens afterward? For many, the event replays for days, weeks, even years. We cringe at the memory. We doubt our competence. The shame becomes a part of our identity. We tell ourselves, I'm the person who failed, instead of, I am a person who, in the past, experienced a failure. A Stoic practitioner would approach this differently. First, they would analyze the event dispassionately. What part of this was in my control? My preparation, my effort, my words. What part was not? The client's reaction, the market conditions, my colleague's mood. They would extract the lesson from what was within their control. I could have prepared more thoroughly, or I should have chosen my words more carefully. This is not regret, this is learning. It is using the past as a whetstone to sharpen future action. But once the lesson is learned, the emotional attachment to the event must be severed. The Stoic reminds themselves, the event is over. It now belongs to the category of things I cannot control. To continue to feel shame or anger over it is to waste my precious mental energy on a phantom. They consciously choose to turn their focus back to the present, to the next task, the next challenge, the next opportunity to apply the lesson they have learned. This is not easy. Our brains are wired to remember negative events as a survival mechanism. But Stoicism is a philosophy of training. It is about building new mental habits. One powerful exercise is to practice a form of cognitive reframing. When a painful memory surfaces, do not try to suppress it. As we know, what we resist, persists. Instead, acknowledge it, and then deliberately relabel it. You can say to yourself, this is a memory of a past lesson, or this is my mind bringing up an old story that has no power over my present actions. By reframing it, you strip the memory of its emotional charge. You turn it from a ghost that haunts you into a teacher who has already taught you. Consider the life of Cato the Younger, a Roman statesman and a paragon of Stoic virtue. He lived through a time of immense political turmoil and ultimately faced defeat at the hands of Julius Caesar. He lost his political cause, his allies, and ultimately his life. From a conventional perspective, his life ended in failure. He could have spent his final days consumed with regret, lamenting his political miscalculations or the betrayal of his allies. But he did not. He faced his end with the same unwavering integrity that he had lived his life. He accepted the outcome because he knew he had controlled the only things that truly mattered, his principles and his actions. The outcome was never up to him. He let go of the past, even a past as immediate as the battle he had just lost, and focused on the only thing left in his control, how he would face his final moments. You do not need to face such dramatic circumstances to apply this wisdom. Letting go of the past can be as simple as forgiving yourself for snapping at your child this morning. It can be releasing the anger you feel towards a driver who cut you off in traffic 5 minutes ago. It can be accepting that a relationship has ended and turning your focus to your own healing and growth. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Visit it for lessons, but do not build your house there. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the sum of your responses, and your next response is always in the present moment. So, ask yourself, as the old monk asked the young one, what are you still carrying? And are you ready, finally, to set it down? Section 2, Letting Go of the Future, the Tyranny of What If. If the past is an anchor that holds us back, then the future is a fog that blinds us. We stumble through our days, unable to see what is right in front of us because our minds are consumed by a future that does not exist. We are paralyzed by the endless, exhausting game of what if. What if I get sick? What if the presentation goes poorly? What if they don't like me? What if I make the wrong choice? This constant projection into the unknown is the very definition of anxiety. It is the suffering we inflict upon ourselves over things that have not happened and, in most cases, never will. The Stoics had a powerful antidote to this self-inflicted poison, a radical and disciplined focus on the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, in the quiet of his tent during military campaigns, constantly reminded himself of this truth. He wrote in his meditations, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." Think about the profound wisdom in that statement. The skills you need to handle tomorrow are the very same skills you are using, or failing to use, right now. The courage, the patience, the wisdom required for a future challenge are not magically bestowed upon you when that challenge arrives. They are forged in the small moments of today. If you cannot be patient in a traffic jam today, how can you expect to be patient with a major life crisis tomorrow? If you cannot find the courage to speak honestly in a small meeting now, how will you find it when your integrity is truly on the line? The future, for the Stoics, is another thing that lies firmly outside of our control. We can plan, we can prepare, we can set intentions, these are actions within our power. But the outcome? That is up to fate, to the great, unfolding tapestry of the cosmos. To be anxious about the outcome is to waste our energy on the one thing we have no say in. Seneca put it even more bluntly, he suffers more than is necessary, who suffers before it is necessary. Anxiety is a down payment on a pain that may never come due to be collected. We live through imagined tragedies 1,000 times over, while the actual events of our lives pass us by, unnoticed. Imagine a tightrope walker poised high above a canyon. If she were to fixate on the possibility of falling, on the vast emptiness below, her body would tense, her balance would falter, and the very thing she fears would become more likely. Her survival depends on her ability to let go of the future, of the fall, of the landing, of the crowd's reaction, and focus entirely on the present. On the feeling of the rope beneath her feet. On the subtle shifts in her weight. On the next single step. Our lives are that tightrope. Every day, we walk between the past and the future. And our peace, our effectiveness, our very ability to navigate life successfully, depends on our capacity to keep our attention fixed on the step we are taking right now. So how do we train this ability to let go of the future? The Stoics offered several practical methods. The first is to break down your fears. When you feel anxious about a future event, take a moment to analyze it with reason. What, specifically, are you afraid of? Write it down. Now, for each fear, ask yourself, is this within my control, or outside of my control? For the parts you can control, your preparation, your attitude, your actions, make a plan. This transforms vague anxiety into a concrete to-do list, which is far more manageable. For the parts you cannot control, the outcome, other people's reactions, consciously practice handing them over to fate. You can create a mental ritual for this. Visualize placing these worries into a box, closing the lid, and watching it float away. You say to yourself, I have done my part. The rest is not up to me. Another powerful Stoic practice is what Marcus Aurelius referred to as confining yourself to the present. When you feel overwhelmed by the thought of everything you have to do this week, this month, this year, bring your focus back with ruthless intensity to the single task in front of you. You don't have to write a whole book today. You only have to write one sentence. You don't have to solve all of your life's problems this afternoon. You only have to make the next right choice. As Marcus wrote, do not let your thoughts be of the whole of your life. Do not let your thoughts wander to the great number and variety of troubles which may befall you. But as to each of the troubles which is at hand, ask yourself, what is there in this that is intolerable and past bearing? When you examine your present challenges in isolation, you almost always find that they are, in fact, bearable. This is the essence of letting go of the future. It is not about being unprepared or living without goals. It is about preparing with diligence and then releasing your attachment to the results. It is about understanding that the only time you can ever truly live, act, and be is now. The future is a concept, a story we tell ourselves. The present moment is reality. Think of a captain sailing a ship across the ocean. He has a destination in mind, a course plotted on his map. This is his plan. But once he is at sea, he cannot control the weather. A storm may arise, the winds may shift. A foolish captain would rage against the storm, lamenting that it is not the sunny weather he had hoped for. He would be paralyzed by the fear of the waves to come. A wise captain, a Stoic captain, accepts the reality of the storm. He lets go of his anxiety about the destination and focuses all his skill and energy on navigating the wave that is right in front of his bow. He trims the sails, he holds the rudder steady, he commands his crew. He meets the present moment with virtue. Your life is that ship. Your anxieties about the future are the storm. Stop raging against the weather you cannot control. Take hold of the rudder of your reason. Focus on the present wave. Navigate it with all the skill and courage you possess. That is how you will not only survive the storm but reach your destination, stronger and wiser for the journey. Section 3, Letting Go of Others' Opinions, the Prison of Applause. There is a subtle and insidious prison that holds more people captive than any physical jail cell. It has no walls, no bars, no guards. Its confines are built from a single, powerful force, the opinions of others. From a young age, we are trained to seek approval and avoid disapproval. A gold star from a teacher, a parent's proud smile, the acceptance of our peers, these become the currency of our self-worth. As we grow older, the stakes get higher. We crave likes on social media, positive performance reviews at work, the admiration of our community. We become performers on a stage, constantly adjusting our masks, our lines, and our actions to please an audience whose applause is fleeting and whose judgment is fickle. The Stoics saw this dependence on external validation for what it is, a form of slavery. Epictetus, who had been a slave himself, understood the nature of true freedom better than anyone. He taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. He also warned, if you are ever tempted to look for approval from outside yourself, know that you have lost your way. Why is this so critical? Because when you tie your sense of self-worth to the opinions of others, you are placing the most valuable thing you own, your inner peace, into hands that are not your own. You give strangers the power to make you feel happy or sad, worthy or worthless. You become a boat without a rudder, tossed about by the changing winds of praise and criticism. Think about how this manifests in daily life. You hesitate to share a creative idea at work, not because you think it's bad, but because you fear a colleague will dismiss it. You wear clothes you don't love because you want to fit in. You stay silent when you should speak up against an injustice because you don't want to rock the boat. In each of these moments, you are trading a piece of your authentic self for the illusion of safety that comes from approval. You are letting go of your own integrity to hold on to someone else's good opinion. Marcus Aurelius marveled at this paradox in his Meditations. He wrote, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. We trust strangers' judgments over our own inner compass. We allow the noise of the crowd to drown out the quiet voice of our own reason. Letting go of the need for others' approval is one of the most challenging but also one of the most liberating practices in Stoicism. It is not about becoming arrogant, dismissive, or antisocial. It is about shifting your locus of evaluation from the outside to the inside. It is about deciding that your primary judge will be your own character, your own principles, your own conscience. How do we begin this difficult process? First, we must practice the dichotomy of control. The opinions of others are, by definition, outside of our control. You can be the kindest, most virtuous person in the world, and someone will still find a reason to dislike you. You can create a masterpiece, and someone will call it trash. You can never, ever, control what another person thinks. What you can control is your own intention and your own actions. The Stoic focuses on living virtuously, on doing the right thing for the right reason. The reputation that follows is a byproduct, and indifferent, in Stoic terms. It is preferred, but not necessary for a good life. Second, we must redefine our goal. If your goal is to be liked, you will constantly be in a state of anxiety, trying to please everyone. This is an impossible and exhausting task. The Stoics' goal is to be worthy of respect, especially their own. They ask themselves not, will they like me for this, but, is this action just, courageous, temperate, and wise? When your actions are aligned with your own deeply held values, the need for external applause diminishes. The satisfaction comes from the act itself, not from the reaction to it. Consider the story of Socrates, a major inspiration for the Stoics. He was a man who dedicated his life to the pursuit of truth and wisdom, questioning the assumptions of the powerful and encouraging his fellow Athenians to examine their own lives. He was not popular. He was mocked, criticized, and ultimately put on trial for his beliefs. During his trial, he had the opportunity to apologize, to recant his teachings, to please the crowd and save his own life. He refused. He chose to let go of their opinion of him, even when it meant his death. He knew that his integrity was more valuable than their approval, and more valuable even than his own life. His worth was not determined by their verdict, but by his unwavering commitment to his principles. This is a dramatic example, but the principle applies to our own small, daily choices. When you choose to tell an uncomfortable truth instead of a convenient lie, you are choosing integrity over approval. When you pursue a passion that others find strange or impractical, you are choosing authenticity over conformity. When you apologize sincerely for a mistake, without making excuses, you are choosing character over ego. A practical exercise to build this muscle is to intentionally do something that might invite minor, harmless disapproval. Wear an unusual outfit. Politely express a dissenting opinion in a low-stakes conversation. Eat lunch alone in a crowded cafeteria without looking at your phone. These small acts of social courage teach your nervous system that you can survive disapproval. It is not the fatal blow your ego imagines it to be. Letting go of others' opinions is the path to true self-possession. It is to stand firmly on your own 2 feet, guided by your own light. You listen to feedback, you are open to learning, but you are not defined by the verdict of the crowd. You become the author of your own life, the master of your own soul. And the peace that comes from that kind of freedom is a fortress that no one's opinion can ever breach. Section 4, Letting Go of Material Attachments, the Weight of Possessions. We live in a culture that screams a single, relentless message: you are what you own. The car you drive, the brand of your clothes, the size of your house, the number on your paycheck, these have become the primary markers of a successful life. We chase possessions with a frantic energy, believing that with each new acquisition, we are adding another layer to our happiness and security. We believe that more is always the answer. More money, more gadgets, more things. But the Stoics would ask a radical question: are you owning your possessions, or are your possessions owning you? Every object you acquire comes with a hidden cost. It is not just the price tag. It is the mental space it occupies. It is the time and energy spent earning the money to buy it, the worry spent protecting it, and the anxiety felt at the thought of losing it. The more we accumulate, the more we have to lose, and the more we become slaves to the very things we thought would set us free. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, was paradoxically one of the most eloquent advocates for non-attachment. He owned villas and vast estates, but he practiced a profound mental and emotional detachment from his wealth. He understood that external goods are preferred indifference. It is preferable to have them than not, but they are not essential for eudaimonia, the deep, flourishing happiness that comes from a virtuous life. He wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Poverty, in the Stoic view, is not a condition of the bank account, but a condition of the mind. A person who is constantly craving, constantly feeling that they are not enough until they acquire the next thing, is living in a state of perpetual poverty, no matter how much they own. Letting go of material attachment is not about vowing to live in poverty or rejecting all worldly goods. It is about changing your relationship with them. It is about moving from a mindset of, "I need this to be happy," to, "I can enjoy this while I have it, and I will be fine if I do not." It is the cultivation of an inner resilience that is not dependent on external circumstances. How can we cultivate this freedom? The Stoics gave us a powerful and practical tool, premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, which can be applied specifically to our possessions. This is the practice of negative visualization. Take a few moments each day to consciously imagine losing the things you value. Imagine your house is gone. Imagine your savings have vanished. Imagine your favorite possessions have been destroyed. This sounds morbid, but its purpose is the exact opposite. It is not to create anxiety, but to inoculate yourself against it. When you regularly contemplate the loss of what you have, two remarkable things happen. First, you cultivate a profound sense of gratitude for what you currently possess. The car you take for granted becomes a wonderful convenience. The roof over your head becomes a precious shelter. You begin to truly appreciate the things that have faded into the background of your life. As Seneca said, "He is a great man who uses earthenware dishes as if they were silver, but he is equally great who uses silver as if it were earthenware." Second, you rehearse poverty and loss in your mind, which strips them of their terror. You ask yourself, "If I lost all this, what would I do? How would I survive? Would I still have my character? My relationships? My reason?" You realize that while life would be more difficult, it would not be unbearable. You would adapt. You would endure. You would still be you. The fear of loss is almost always worse than the loss itself. By facing that fear voluntarily in your imagination, you rob it of its power over you. Another practice Seneca advocated was voluntary hardship. He would periodically set aside a few days to live as if he were poor. He would eat the plainest food, wear the coarsest clothes, and sleep on a hard floor. He did this not to punish himself, but to ask the question, "Is this the condition that I so feared?" By experiencing a taste of hardship, he proved to his own mind that he could endure it. He was building his resilience, his inner fortress, ensuring that his peace of mind was not dependent on his fine wine and soft bed. You can adapt this practice to your own life. Try spending fast for a week, buying only absolute necessities. Eat simple, inexpensive meals for a few days. Forgo a luxury you usually indulge in. These small acts of self-denial are not about deprivation, they are about liberation. They are a declaration that your happiness is not for sale. Letting go of material attachment allows you to live with a sense of lightness and freedom. You are no longer on the hamster wheel of consumerism, always chasing the next thing. You can make decisions based on your values, not on the desire for more. You can pursue a less lucrative but more meaningful career. You can invest your money in experiences and relationships rather than objects. Look around your life. What possessions are you clinging to for your sense of identity or security? What would it feel like to mentally release your grip on them? To know that you are whole and complete, with or without them. That is the freedom that Stoicism offers. Not the freedom to have anything you want, but the freedom from needing anything you have. Section 5, Mastering Your Inner Citadel, Letting Go of Negative Emotions. We have talked about letting go of the past, the future, the opinions of others, and material things. But perhaps the most difficult and most important act of letting go is the one that happens entirely within our own minds. It is the act of letting go of our own destructive emotions, our anger, our resentment, our envy, and our fear. These emotions feel so powerful, so immediate, so real. When someone insults us, anger feels like a righteous fire. When we are wronged, resentment feels like a debt that must be paid. When we see others succeed where we have failed, envy feels like an undeniable truth about our own inadequacy. We believe these emotions are things that happen to us, like the weather. We say, "He made me angry," or "This situation is terrifying." The Stoics, however, presented a revolutionary idea that is now the foundation of modern cognitive behavioral therapy. Emotions are not external forces that seize us. They are products of our judgments. They are the result of the stories we tell ourselves about events. Epictetus stated this with unshakable clarity: men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. This is the key to mastering your inner citadel, the fortress of your mind. The event itself is neutral. It is just a fact. The driver cut you off. Your boss criticized your work. Your friend got the promotion you wanted. These are external events, outside of your control. The emotion, the anger, the shame, the envy, is the result of your internal judgment about that event. That driver disrespected me. My boss thinks I'm incompetent. My friend's success means I am a failure. If the emotion is a product of our judgment, then it follows that the emotion is, in fact, within our control. We cannot stop the driver from cutting us off, but we can choose not to judge it as a personal insult. We can choose to judge it as, that person is in a hurry, or, that was an unskilled maneuver, or, even better, to make no judgment at all and simply return our focus to our own driving. When we change the judgment, the emotion dissolves. This is the Stoic practice of letting go of negative emotions. It is not suppression, pushing the feeling down and pretending it isn't there. Suppression is like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes immense energy and will eventually erupt to the surface with even greater force. The Stoic practice is dissection and dismissal. It is to catch the emotion as it arises, to examine the judgment that caused it, and to rationally decide if that judgment is true and helpful. 9 times out of 10, it is not. Let's take anger. Seneca called anger a brief madness. It clouds our reason, makes us say and do things we later regret, and ultimately harms us far more than the person or event that triggered it. When you feel anger rising, the Stoic discipline is to pause. To create a space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you can ask yourself, what is the judgment I am making? E.g., this person is intentionally trying to harm me. Is this judgment certainly true? Could they be acting out of ignorance, fear, or their own pain? Is this anger helping me achieve a virtuous outcome? Will shouting solve the problem, or will a calm, rational response be more effective? By putting your anger on trial with reason, you regain control. You might still conclude that an injustice has occurred, but you can then choose to respond with firm, principled action rather than blind rage. You can let go of the madness of anger while still addressing the situation. This applies equally to resentment. Holding a grudge is, as the saying goes, like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It is a burden that you choose to carry every day. The Stoic lets go of resentment not necessarily because the other person deserves forgiveness, but because you deserve peace. You let it go because carrying it is irrational. It is to allow a past event, something outside of your control, to continue to poison your present moment. Think of the monumental example of Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison for fighting against the brutal system of apartheid, he had every reason to be consumed by hatred and resentment. The world expected him to seek revenge. Instead, upon his release, he chose a path of reconciliation and forgiveness. He let go of the poison. He did this not out of weakness, but out of profound wisdom. He knew that if he continued to carry the bitterness of the past, he would still be a prisoner, even outside of Robben Island. He knew that to build a new future for his country, he had to let go of the emotions tied to its painful past. He mastered his own inner citadel, and in doing so, he changed the world. Our daily struggles with negative emotions may not be on this scale, but the principle is the same. To be free, you must be the master of your own mind. You must learn to observe your emotions as they arise, like clouds passing in the sky. You are the sky, not the clouds. Acknowledge them, examine the judgments behind them, and then let them pass without being swept away by them. This is a lifelong practice. It requires vigilance, patience, and self-compassion. But with every small victory, every time you choose calm over anger, understanding over resentment, contentment over envy, you strengthen the walls of your inner citadel. You become a sanctuary of peace in a turbulent world. And that is a power that no external event can ever take away. Conclusion: the freedom of an unburdened mind. We began this journey by asking what it would feel like to be free from the heavy anchors that hold us down. We have walked the Stoic path of letting go, releasing our grip on the unchangeable past, the uncertain future, the fickle opinions of others, our attachment to possessions, and the tyranny of our own negative emotions. We have learned that letting go is not a passive act of surrender, but an active, courageous choice. It is the choice to focus our finite and precious energy not on the vast ocean of things we cannot control, but on the small, vital island of what we can, our character, our judgments, and our actions in this very moment. The world will continue to be a place of chaos and uncertainty. People will continue to act in ways that are disappointing or hurtful. The future will always be unknown. These are the given circumstances of our existence. The Stoic does not seek to escape this reality. Instead, they learn to navigate it with a mind that is light, resilient, and free. Imagine your mind is a garden. For too long, you have allowed weeds to grow unchecked, the weeds of regret, anxiety, and resentment. They have choked the life out of the plants you wish to cultivate, your peace, your purpose, your virtue. The art of letting go is the patient, daily work of tending this garden. It is the act of pulling out the weeds, not with anger, but with understanding. With each weed you remove, you create more space for light, more room for growth. This is not a task that is ever finished. It is a practice, a way of life. Every morning presents a new opportunity to choose what you will carry and what you will set down. Will you carry the grievances of yesterday, or will you meet the new day with a clean slate? Will you carry the anxieties of tomorrow, or will you pour your full presence into the gift of today? The freedom that comes from an unburdened mind is the ultimate prize of Stoic philosophy. It is a deep and abiding peace that is not dependent on circumstances. It is a strength that is forged in the fires of adversity. It is a clarity that allows you to see what truly matters in a world full of distractions. So, as we conclude our time together, I leave you with a question and a call to action. What is the one thing, one regret, one worry, one attachment, that you are carrying right now, that you can choose to let go of today? Make a conscious decision. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Take one small, concrete step to release its hold on you. Perhaps it's forgiving someone, even if only in your own heart. Perhaps it's making a plan to address a fear, instead of just worrying about it. Perhaps it's simply reminding yourself, the next time you feel the sting of criticism, their opinion is not in my control. This is how the journey begins. Not with a giant leap, but with a single, intentional step. The path to a free and tranquil mind is walked one moment, one choice, one act of letting go at a time. Thank you for walking this path with us. If this journey has resonated with you, and you are ready to commit to the practice of building a freer mind, let us know in the comments. Share the one thing you will begin to let go of today. Your declaration can inspire others on their own journey. And if you wish to continue exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, Be Audio. The path to a virtuous life is a lifelong pursuit, and we are honored to be a companion on your way. Live with virtue. Live with freedom. Live now.